Okay. It's been a while since our last interview, and I realized how much I hadn't remembered, and so I was really glad I re-listened to them. But last time we talked mostly about high school, and we got to hear about high school and Dylan and things like that. And this time we talked a little bit about your freshman year at Denver University, but not a lot.
Okay.
And I wanted to start there and then talk about the Army, and if we have time, talk about what happened after the Army.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about Denver University, and I'd like to kind of just have you tell us about it again. What was it like there? I know
Okay.
you were just there a year.
I started there, actually I was 17, turned 18 in September. I got down there in August, so, but I lived with my aunt and uncle, Auntie Gail and Uncle Sheldon, and they were very wonderful people. Tough to take on a young teenager at their age, but they were very good to me, and I loved them a lot. I really did. They were a wonderful couple. Let me just tell you a little quick story about them. Maybe I've said this before, but my dad and my uncle went to Graceland College together. Then when they came to Denver, they came together because they both ran out of money. And they met sisters, my mother and my aunt, and married them.
And they married the sisters.
So that's how it became Uncle Sheldon.
How cool is that?
Wonderful, wonderful people. Great time. Denver University was a little bit difficult because I didn't know anybody, not have friends there. So Annie Gail and Uncle Sheldon were just marvelous, yet I never dated that whole year because I wasn't on campus that much. And another thing about it, I worked. I had a job, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was a car rental place. It was quite a ways away, and I had to ride the bus or the streetcar.
So you went to school full-time and worked full-time, or worked
No,
part-time?
I worked. I sort of part-time each. I didn't take that full schedule of classes. I don't think. I can't remember exactly how many credit hours, but I don't think it was. Yeah, it was. So I basically worked night and Saturdays at the car rental.
Okay.
It was a very interesting place for me because I got to drive the cars over and park them after I serviced them, checked the tires, fill them with gas. Sometimes I didn't have to wash the cars much, but once in a while if it came back really filthy, I'd wash the car. Then I'd put it in the garage across the street. And on the second floor of that garage was a car that you'd die for. It was what did I tell you the model was? Rolls Royce.
Wow.
But it was the kind of cars that the driver sat outside of the car up in front, and then it had a cab for the people in the back.
Wow.
And it was about so big and long, but it was about a 1919 model. It was wonderful, and it looked like new. It had been kept beautifully. And I kept thinking, I'd like to try that car. But that was my biggest memory about working at that place. I'm glad I had the bringing up I did because most of the people who worked at that were smokers and alcoholics and drank and stuff, and I never got involved in that. I'm very grateful for my family and the way we were raised.
Did they try to involve you in it?
Just, you're different. You don't want to go out with us, that kind of thing. But that was an interesting time. that's about all I can think of about that year. Um, I didn't do too well. I don't remember. I think I transferred a couple of credits to BYU, but not much from Denver. There's quite a gap in between.
Yeah.
Because during that interval, I was in the Army for, before. So.
Anything else about living with Auntie Gail and Uncle Sheldon?
It was quite a revelation to me to live with a couple who were so I want to use the word quiet. They never raised their voices. It was a quiet place to live, And Uncle Sheldon went to work early and rode the bus out to the packing plant where he worked. And Auntie Gail, I don't know if she worked at that time, but you knew that Auntie Gail worked for my mother in the beauty shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Was she still doing?
Well, no, we had sold the place and moved to Dillon, so she didn't have the place to work anymore. I don't know that she worked. I don't remember that she did. No. Maybe she did, but I was gone from 8 o'clock in the morning, until, but I don't remember her working, but I know Uncle Sheldon worked. There's one interesting story, and I've probably told you this too. Before I went down there to live in Denver, one time Auntie Gail and Uncle Sheldon came up to visit, and they brought a dog with them.
Huh.
He had found a beautiful little puppy on the roadside and picked it up, and I don't even think he even called my parents. He just put it in the car when they came up. Said, I got a little dog for you. And that was our dog, Sheba. We had her for years. She was a beautiful dog. Little small dog. But she was a great dog, and she'd follow us everywhere. Great. Interesting thing about Sheba. She was, I don't know what type of dog she was, but she had a lot of thick hair. And she never slept inside. She slept outside. In Dillon, that meant 20 below zero.
Yeah, wow.
And I hope I haven't told you this, but it was interesting. She would go out there and sleep with the cats. And you'd come out in the morning, and here was 2 cats and a dog all in a little pile together. And they slept together for all time. They were just very nice. I mean,
really?
It was wonderful to see that kind of attitude between dogs and cats. Yeah, she slept on the back porch with the cats.
That's funny.
So anyway, we got Auntie Gail and Uncle Sheldon brought that dog.
That's fun.
I think I'm going to move on because I don't have much more about my year in Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Opera.
Oh, yeah, they were opera buffs. And they had, I think they had season tickets to the, what was the name of it? It was the opera up in Idaho Springs.
Central City.
Central City, that's where it was. Central City had an opera house. It was beautiful old opera house, and they had season tickets, and they took me several times to the opera with them.
Fun.
And it was a Metropolitan.
Now, were you into opera?
No, it was a Metropolitan opera.
Okay.
And they would come and put on the performances at this opera house. And the opera house was a beautiful building. It was built over a river that ran under it. And somehow that gave it a resonance. And in those days they didn't have microphones for the opera at all.
Yeah.
It was all just good voices. And we went to several operas together. And I remember that vividly. They were very cultured people. He'd always worked, I think he worked it was Swift and Company, packing house. And I think he'd worked there for many years. He retired from there.
From Swift.
From Swift and Company. So he worked for 30 years or longer, I don't know. But that's who I lived with, and I rode the bus or the streetcar. Either one. I rode the streetcar out to work, and I rode the bus to school, I believe. It's been so long, I can't remember which one was which. But that was basically my experience with Annie Gale and Uncle Sheldon.
They sound like they were wonderful.
Jerry, you knew them really well, and they were just a wonderful couple.
Just from what you've said about them, even from other interviews, it sounds like they were just great. And then you were there for a school year, and then did you go back to Dillon?
And worked
for
there.
A summer, or?
Well, I got drafted within about a year, I believe.
In Dillon?
Yeah, I was probably 19 when I got drafted.
Sorry, I just realized I need to plug something in, so I'm doing two things at once. But you were 19 when you got drafted.
And that was interesting because I don't know how much I've said before, so I'll not.
No, that's fine. And if you repeat it, that's okay.
When I got my draft notice, and I'm trying to think of where I had to report. I was talking to my Jerry about it, but I can't remember whether it was in Denver or it was the county. I had to go up to the county seat in Breckenridge and fill out these papers for induction. But I put down that I'd had spinal meningitis, and that sent up a red flag. I didn't even know about it, but all of a sudden I got a call to report to the Denver Fitzsimmons Army Hospital.
Okay.
And they checked me over for a couple of days, and I was kind of hoping they'd say,
running test?
You're 4F.
Oh.
They didn't. They said, You're 1A. And I went back home after that and packed up. And then I was talking to Jerry about it. I think I rode the train from Denver, Colorado to Fort Ord, California for basic training in Fort Ord, California. Did 8 weeks of basic training, but it was interesting. One day, a motor sergeant or somebody came up and asked the troop of us, who can drive a truck? And I thought to myself, that's a good opportunity. So all the time the rest of the company were marching, I was driving the truck. Either with food for the group, or, all that.
Smart.
So, I kind of thought that might be the result. But it ended up fine. And I had the experience because I'd done a lot of truck driving growing up. My dad had a Model A truck, and we'd haul bales and do a lot of driving, so I wasn't at all worried about driving the truck. So I got out of a lot of marching.
That's nice. And now, what was some of the background as far as I think the Korean War was going on at the time?
Yeah.
How does the draft work? Did you get a letter or?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I might have been one of 2 people in Summit County that got drafted.
Oh, really?
Well, there's only 2 boys in my high school.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know. I don't remember that he got a notice too, but yes, it came in the mail, and it's kind of shocking to open it and say you are now to report for the draft.
Were you worried about it?
Very. It was go away from home and nowhere, but I was drafted and sent to Fort Ord, California, and I rode the train from Denver to Fort Ord. And
what was your family like? I don't know, like mom, dad, brothers, were they nervous for you when you opened it?
Didn't seem like mom and dad were that nervous about it. But I'm the only one who ever served in the military.
Oh, really?
My 3 younger brothers never did. No, Shelley was drafted, and he bugged out. He got down there, and I don't know what all he said, but they released him. But my other 2 brothers never were inducted or wanted to go in.
Okay.
So I was the only one who served. Shelley served for about 6 weeks or a month.
Okay.
And they let him out.
And how long was it between when you got your letter in the mail And then you had to report.
Well, because of that medical work that they had to do, it was about a month.
Okay.
But yeah, it's about a month before I actually got on the train to go to Fort Ord, California. In Fort Ord, I first went through basic training, driving a truck, and then I had a second 8 weeks in wheel vehicle mechanic school in Fort Ord, California.
Okay.
And that wasn't nearly as bad as basic training. Had a little bit more freedom to do what I wanted. And I got to sometimes on a pass to see different parts of California, you know, take a bus or something and go to the coast or go to...
And is it in
Actually,
southern
Fort
or
Ord,
northern?
California is right on the coast. I shouldn't say.
Okay.
But I didn't get to go to the coast there because you were in the Army.
Uh-huh.
But I went down to Carmel, California once and toured the historic sites there. I remember that trip. And overall, I found that I didn't mind military service like I thought I would.
Really?
Yeah, it
Why?
wasn't that bad. I guess because I'd been to a year at Denver University, I'd been away from home, you know. And actually the Army was, you got friends that I didn't have in college, you know, because you'd go to work and go to school and then you go home. Where in the Army you were with them 24 hours a day. So I made some pretty good friends in the Army, not so much in basic training, but once I got on my, down to Georgia where I served my time, then I made some pretty good friends, LDS friends. I think I've probably told you about them, but anyway. I rode, and I caught, when I finished my second 8 weeks of basic in California, I finally figured it out today. I rode a DC-3. Do you know what kind of plane that is?
I do not.
It's a World War II plane, twin engine.
Okay.
And that's what the group of us that were going, leaving Fort Ord and going to Georgia, there's about 10 or 11 of us on that plane.
Okay.
But it was just a twin engine and it didn't go very far. You'd stop, fly from Fort Ord to Denver, and then you'd fly to some place in Kansas. But you did it in about a day and a half, but we had to sleep on the plane. And then we arrived at Fort Benning, Georgia. And
where in Georgia is that?
that is on the Chattahoochee River, just a little, about 60 miles south of Atlanta.
Okay.
And it was...
Did you already know by the time you got there that you were going to be a mechanic?
Yeah, because I had mechanics training.
And did you choose that, or how does that
No,
work?
well, did I tell you about that? Maybe I should have. They were going to send me to cook school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I said, I don't want to go to cook school. No, thank you. Probably spit one. I said, I don't want to go to cook school. I said, is there any other choices? They weren't very nice about it, but I said, I'll even enlist another year if I have to. I don't want to go to cook school.
How come?
I didn't want to be a cook. No, I really didn't want that. Here I'm a country boy, outdoors boy. I didn't want to do that at all.
That's a great point.
And I really don't think I think it'd been horrible. But anyway, I talked to the sergeant, the captain, and he said, well, I'll let you go to mechanic school, but I said, I'll even sign up for another year if I have to. Now I remember that when he came back, he said, you won't have to, I'll sign you up to wheel vehicle mechanic school.
Okay.
That's trucks. And so I had that wheel vehicle mechanic school in Fort Ord, California, so I already had my MOS and everything ready when I landed in Fort Benning, Georgia.
What's an MOS?
Military Operating something service.
Okay.
Something like that.
Basically your assignment?
MOS is your assignment.
Okay.
You're going to be assigned as a mechanic in their motor pool.
Okay.
So I got there, and I remember I enjoyed it a lot. Just doing the service on trucks. I told you about the Chattahoochee River, didn't I?
You said that it was right by the Chattahoochee River.
Well, I'll tell you, go on, but anyway, I would take the trucks out and road test them.
Okay.
Then you take them back, and the crew had to clean it up so you could work on it. So I would check it for water capabilities, go in the river and check all the things there, and
oh wow.
then they'd clean it up. Then I'd service it, do the mechanic work on it, and then give them back their truck. But after about 8 months, they looked at my MOS and said, "We don't have any more wheeled vehicles for you." I said, "Well, you've got tanks, can I work on those?" And so, I don't know how it worked out, but they let me work on the tanks, and I worked on the M48 tank, and that was really fun. And that's when I took the tank down in the middle of the river and got up in the gun turret and followed cars on the highway and checked it all out. I loved that very much.
Wow.
You had to water test the tank. You had to take it into some place where the engine was underwater.
Wow.
Because it had a pipe that goes up, an exhaust pipe that goes up to check that it was watertight. Tanks would often in combat would be in that kind of condition. So you had to, they were built for that. And the tank also being a track vehicle doesn't get stuck in the water like a truck or car,
Oh, good point.
Yeah, they were capable of, and you didn't go deep. You went just enough to get the engine compartment underwater and see that it would function properly. And that's when I had a lot of fun with the tank. Here you are, you're all alone in the great big M48 tank, all by yourself, and you're testing it in the river.
How many tank mechanics were there? Was there like a whole group of you? Or?
Well, we were in a tank battalion, but they didn't have a single tank mechanic.
Really?
Yeah. So I just started
strange.
working on tanks. Well, I think eventually they did get one. He wasn't a good mechanic, I remember that. So I had to show him what to do. But I worked on tanks until we got him, and I think we just got another mechanic, and I don't know if he's a tank mechanic. I'm not sure. Anyway, the officer said, "Roush, you're not working under your MOS." I said, "I'm going to make you my driver." I think I've told you this, but it broke my heart. So I failed the driving test because I didn't want to be his driver. And he said, "You go pass that test or we'll court-martial you." So I no longer was a mechanic. I became the driver.
So how long did you have each?
About a year I was a mechanic, and then the last, it was a 2-year tour. So my second year that I started was as a driver. But as I look back, I tell my wife, one of the blessings that I had from that was sitting with nothing to do. You drive him where he goes. You don't have a radio in the Jeep or anything. You just sit there. So that's when after I joined the church, that's when I read the Book of Mormon. Just sitting in the truck waiting. And
that's amazing.
It turned out.
Not while you were driving, I hope.
It turned out well, but at the time, I was just depressed because I had to drive for a major, and did that. And it was during that time that I joined the church.
Yeah.
And it was great.
I want to talk to you more about your conversion after we talk about continuing with the Army.
One other thing about that, I'm jumping ahead though. That Army experience was good for me because I learned to work with lots of different people. Growing up
Mm.
with 2 kids in my high school, there wasn't
Yeah.
much communication that way. So I learned a lot in the Army, and I made a lot of good LDS friends in the Army.
Hmm.
I met a lot of good friends that been friends most of my life.
Wow.
And we've separated over the years because they didn't come back to where I was, but I've remembered them very much. Okay.
So,
Now, how far do you, what was the last one we talked about?
you were just talking about you became the driver and how it ended up being a blessing because you got to read and LDS kids. I'm curious more before we get to the conversion side of things, just more of your Army experience. Were you with, I don't know how it works, a battalion?
Well, I'm going to have to jump ahead because much of it was church related.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Bruce D. Hahn, I guess you've heard that name,
Mm-hmm.
haven't you? He and one other young man, I think it was probably Saturdays, might have been Sundays too. If you could go to the captain and tell him that you were going to do church work, they would let you have a Saturday off.
Oh.
So Bruce had a car, and he and I and one or two other soldiers that were LDS would go and do activation and missionary work.
Wow.
But it was fascinating. I was just a new member, and that's where that happened. That incident about help. Would you bless the sacrament? I said, I'm not a member yet. That's when they found out. It was during this period. But one interesting, and I'm sorry, I hope I don't repeat myself. Fort Benning, Georgia was off limits, but the missionaries could go there.
Oh.
So we could go into Fort Benning. Did I say Fort Benning? That's not what I meant. What is it's a city across the river from Columbus. Anyway, it was off limits because it was kind of a bad place for soldiers, you know, all kind of things. So it was off limits. Phoenix City, Alabama, that was the name.
Okay.
Phoenix City. But we got to go there because we were doing church work. And there were some good members that we met there. One couple, older couple, they would always have what was it, squash or carrot pie. And it was absolutely scrumptious. Every time we went there, they would have a cake, a piece of pie for us.
Was it sweet potato?
Probably it was a sweet potato. I think it probably was. But it was very good pie. And we loved that couple. But the trouble is there were no other members around. And they were old enough that they couldn't get out and go to church much.
Yeah.
So they always liked to have us come and visit. I wish I could remember names, but anyway, we got to go to Phoenix City about once a week to see them, or
That's
a little
cool.
less often. Then the other times we would go north, which was the opposite of Phoenix City, and visit inactive and non-members up there. And sometimes we'd meet with missionaries that were actually called missionaries, you know, young men.
Yeah.
And meet them. And a couple of times we actually transported them up because I can't remember why. But 4 of us in the car, and we went up to, I wish I could remember the names of the towns. But, one was where President Roosevelt died. It was gosh, I should know the name. It was a town that had hot springs in it.
Oh, okay.
And it had a hospital, a facility for people who needed that kind of therapy and stuff. We went up there several times and met with people. I can't remember too many conversions because I really wasn't involved in that kind of missionary work. But reactivation, that's basically what we were trying to do.
That's amazing, because on your mission as a senior couple, that's what you focused on.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? Well, it was
That's so
interesting
interesting.
because um, there was an awful lot of people who lived far from converted and then didn't live close enough.
Yeah.
And they were good people. Most of them would have been active if they'd had transportation.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember that Bruce and I ever picked up. Probably a couple times I think we picked up older members and took them to the branch for church, but we couldn't make it happen because we would be on maneuvers and not be available and different things as soldiers. But it was a good time, and it was a time that really helped me build my knowledge of the church and gain a testimony of the gospel. Not from just a few lessons before I was baptized, but actually being involved with those good. See, these members my age were all returned missionaries.
Yeah.
And so they had a good testimony. And that was a fun and wonderful time. One other thing that I might mention, my cousin, Audrey Gale, and her husband lived up in it just south of Atlanta. And had a motorcycle part of the time. Did I tell you about that? Yeah. I didn't remember. I did have a motorcycle, but I don't know how I got it. I think Mom and Dad shipped it to me. It's just a little bike. I think they shipped it to me. I bought it, and I don't know how come. I didn't ride it down there. I know that from Dylan. They shipped it to me. That's what it was.
Wow.
I didn't buy it after I got there, but I rode that around, and a couple times I rode up to see my cousins up in Atlanta, and that was kind of fun to do. Just ride it was quite a ways, probably 80, 90 miles, you know.
And was it with his cousins that you were close with?
Audrey Gale, yeah. She's Annie Gale's and Aunt Priscilla's daughter. They only had one child. That was their daughter, Audrey Gale.
And was she in their home when you lived with them for that year?
No, she'd already married and moved away.
Okay.
So I knew her from youth, but not. But she was a wonderful vocalist singer. She sang in operas, not professional that much, but you know, semi-professional opera. She was a great vocalist and did a lot of singing. Anyway, I had to go up and visit them and spend a weekend with them, which is a nice break from being a soldier.
Yeah.
I could take off my uniform when I went up to them. That's about all I can tell you about the Army. Mechanic work, and I've already told you about my conversion in the Army.
Tell us again the story, kind of back in the beginning. How did it start? How did you become friends with these boys?
Well,
how did you first find out that they were in the church?
Well, I think I've told you the story. Standing in chow line, and a fellow in front of me had a church news.
Okay.
And I
tell us again so that we can have it on recording.
I asked him if I could read it. And so I took
How come? Why did you ask him?
Well, because I knew about, I wasn't a member of any church, but I knew about the Book of Mormon because Mom read it, and so I did have some interest in that. And so I don't know what, other than something that he had the newspaper open and something on the headline on the front page of it caught my attention. And instead of saying anything more, I said, could I read that when you're finished? And that's all I said. And he handed it to me. So that's when the assumption came about. And I think...
Had you and he been friends before, or was he a stranger?
Well, we were in the barracks, but I didn't, I knew him, but I didn't know him that personally, because you have probably 80 men in the barracks, you know. But, yeah, it was a great experience to learn the gospel that way. And by traveling with him, we really got to, I really got to get involved in the gospel on a grassroots level, not just in barracks, but out.
Yeah.
And we traveled, we have a list of names and that the branch president gave us, and we'd go try to find them and visit. Some of them had been contacted for quite a while.
Wow.
Because they were out in the outback somewhere. So we did a lot of that, and we couldn't make any promises because often we couldn't go back, you know.
Yeah.
But we contact them, tell them we're thinking about them, and ask about their status and
Interesting.
their children, update their records, you know, had another baby, that kind of thing. We did a lot of that kind of contacting. Some of them we were able to go back to once in a while, but there were enough of them that we spent a lot of time searching, trying to find people for the branch president. And we did that for probably, well, from the time I joined the church, probably 6, 7, 8 months, where we'd go almost every weekend.
Wow.
Somewhere or other to try to find people.
Yeah.
And tell them the Lord loved them, and sometimes it was reactivation, but they still, most of them didn't have a place close by to go to.
Yeah.
You know, they're out in the outback, so to say.
Yeah.
And that part of Georgia is mostly farmland.
Okay.
South of Atlanta. There are not too many cities on the way down to Columbus. But it was a wonderful time. But I just had those 3 or 4 fellows in my barracks that were LDS. And there was a branch meeting in Columbus. We would attend that on Sundays. We could do that.
Okay.
So most of our fellowshipping was done on Saturdays. But a couple of times we went on Sundays after church. But I wish I had written down all the names of those people because they were wonderful, wonderful people. And
so what were the names of these 3 or 4 LDS friends? Bruce D. Hahn. I know
Jared, can you?
Lewin Farron was one of them.
Yeah.
I remember those 2 names.
Do you remember any other names of those? I can't remember.
Ballas.
Oh, Leroy Ballas and his wife.
How do you spell Ballas? Do you know?
B-O-W. B-O-W-I-S.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, you're right. B-O-W-I. Yeah, Leroy
And
Ballas.
they were, well, go ahead.
Go ahead. You can add more than I can. My memory.
Well, refresh his memory. What are you referring to, Grandma?
They were in our stake in South Carolina.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Just happenstance.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
He taught school.
Did he teach school too? Maybe that's part of it. Yeah. We didn't meet at BYU, did we? We knew him in the Army, and then we knew him, I don't know where he went to. God,
that's amazing. It's a small world.
Yeah. Contact him and have 4 years with that, and then 8 years up there.
Wow.
Yeah, they were good, really good friends all over.
Do you remember which one of them was reading the church news?
Bruce D. Hahn.
It was Bruce D. Hahn.
Yeah. He was the one who.
Was he kind of your closest?
Well, we were close. He's the one who baptized me.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, he baptized me.
And so once you asked and he assumed, what was the next step? Did they say, come to church with us?
Yeah, I said, would you like to go to church with us? And I said, yes. That's all they said. You know, it's interesting when you don't grow up with the church. We just go to the community church, and you didn't join that. You just went. So I didn't pay that much attention. You know, just went, and it all came to a head when they asked me to pass the sacrament.
Tell us that story.
Well, we were out visiting a family. I can't remember which one, And then we went back and we found there was a branch. One of them had a branch, but it was really small. And we went with them to church there and didn't have much priesthood. Bruce was an elder.
This wasn't the Columbus branch? This
No, it
was
wasn't
a
in
smaller
Columbus.
branch?
This is a smaller branch,
Okay.
north of Columbus. But I mean, it had like 8 people or 9.
Oh, wow.
We were holding a meeting, and that's when Bruce asked me to bless the sacrament. That's when that happened.
And you said?
Don't you have to be a member to do that?
What was his reaction when you said that?
Shock. Yeah. I don't know how the word got out, but either that week or sometime during the week, he got the word out to get another elder or two. And we met and sat on the bunks in the bunkhouse, where we slept, and taught me the gospel.
Wow. Wow, Grandpa.
And then I was baptized in the Columbus chapel. There was they had a little chapel, so Bruce baptized me there, and I think he also gave me the priesthood. Yeah, ordained me a deacon. Yep. In Columbus, Georgia.
And how long had you been at Fort Benning when this happened? Like, was this like halfway through your time or early in your time?
Yeah, Fort Benning. This was, I can't remember the time schedule, but it was in the first year that I was there. So,
okay.
Yeah, I was in Fort Benning, Georgia for about not quite 2 years. Got an early release to go to school, so probably 20 months or so I was in.
Okay.
But it was probably about 8 or 9 months before I started that.
How long were you going and visiting with them before they realized that you were
probably
not enough?
2-3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, see, I knew the Book of Mormon pretty well, so I had some ideas of the gospel from my parents. Yeah, it was a very, very precious time to me because it changed my life totally.
Yeah.
I mean, had I not joined the church and the army, I'd have gone back to Dillon.
Yeah.
But because I joined the church and the army, I went to BYU.
Yeah.
Directly.
Tell me about like kind of the feelings and emotions that were going on in this whole process.
A little bit of shock. A real necessity to learn. And like I say, being a driver for the captain, I had the time. Yeah. And I still had a lot to learn in the gospel because there wasn't that many. Well, the missionaries, returned missionaries, didn't have a lot of time, and I was only close to Bruce and those couple others, but they were married and they didn't live. They lived off, out of the base, and we met on Sundays,
Okay.
But I saw Bruce quite a bit of the time. He was a driver too, in the company. Okay, where do we go from here?
I'm curious. I've never been in a barracks experience, but was it hard to do things like pray and things like that? And
they, soldiers are interesting. They live their lives and they let you live yours. I don't remember ever being teased about saying a prayer, but I just kneel by my bunk and say, and Bruce was, oftentimes we'd say it together. He bunked close to me, so we'd say it together. He was the only one that I remember that was not married, who was in the barracks with me. No, I don't remember. I'm sure there might have been others, but I don't remember. They weren't. They might have been in the company, but they weren't in our barracks.
Gotcha.
And I don't remember many of those. I remember the married ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be so forgetful. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I'm impressed with how much you do remember.
But it was a great time.
Yeah.
And
was there anything specific that drew you to the church?
what's that?
Was there anything specific that was a draw for you as far as joining the church?
Well, it's interesting because knowing the Book of Mormon was true and feeling strongly that way, yeah, I think knowing that I could have the priesthood, that was never mentioned by my parents, and being able to, I was an elder before I went to BYU. I was ordained an elder, I'm sure. Yeah, I was. So I was able to, yeah, I was able to pass the sacrament. Able to bless it and also participated in a couple of baptisms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Of whom?
Boy.
Other people, other soldiers or families around that you had visited?
Well, I know one of them, I can't remember his name. He was one of the people we were activating, had a son who turned 8. And I remember Bruce and Bruce baptized him and he and I confirmed him, that
cool.
kind of thing. I don't remember doing a baptism in that period of time. I wish I had a better memory. I know I went everywhere with them and did a lot of things, gave talks.
Wow. Look at you, a brand new member going around visiting and giving talks.
They weren't very long talks. I remember bringing my testimony to several of the less active couples,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And
now a lot of people find that hard, even when they've grown up in the church. They're scared to do stuff like that. How did you have the courage?
The Army really changed me because I knew how to get along away from home with people that I didn't know, but I still was relatively shy. Doesn't sound like it, but I was. The Army experience was a real blessing in my life. I didn't think it would be, but it was. It was because of the church. That was what caused the change.
Would you? Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm kind of in my limit here.
I was just curious. Would you consider yourself like a spiritual person before you joined the church? Like, did you say prayers and read scriptures, or was that something that changed when you met the church?
We used to have prayers at home. I don't remember it being a consistent thing all the time.
What about you personally?
I was sort of on and off. I'd pray and read the Book of Mormon when I was a youth, but not that much before I left home. Mom and Dad never really talked about their church very much. I knew it, so they had to have talked about it some, but they had pretty negative feelings about what had happened to them in their church. And part of the problem was that church kept changing. It fluctuated, and there weren't very many reorganized congregations to call it. So there wasn't too much. There was in Denver, but we didn't live in Denver. There was nothing in Dillon. So we went to the Congregational Church. Mom and Dad would go once in a while. And I would go with them, but that's about all the church experience I had until I got in the Army.
How did your family feel about you joining the church?
They thought I died and gone too. Yeah,
Did they
were
know
very,
about like
well,
were
I
you
told
writing
them,
them
but
or?
they were very, very negative about that.
Hmm.
My mom has never accepted that. The only bad thing I ever did was marry Jerry. That's my mom's feeling.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I don't know how deep that was because we go up there and spend the summer. She was fine.
Yeah.
But she didn't have any love for the Mormon church at all.
Hmm. So what made you go through with it even? Like knowing their disapproval? Or?
Well, it wasn't a matter of approval or disapproval because my parents didn't live their church.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Mom would read the Book of Mormon to us, but that's about all. She didn't discuss concepts or doctrine. She just read the book to us. She never really, I don't think, had a strong written testimony of her church. I never felt it or knew it or had talked about it. Dad was a convert to their organized church. When he went to Graceland to school, not because he didn't go to Graceland because of being a member. He
the
went
other
to
way
Graceland
around.
because
and
it
became
was
a member.
close by and inexpensive. That's where he met Uncle Sheldon. As at
Was that church?
No,
or
at
at
school.
college? Gotcha.
Yeah. And I don't know who baptized Dad in the organized church. It wasn't Uncle Sheldon. I know that Dad always said that he really respected the man who baptized him. When we talked about converting to the Mormon church, he said, "Oh, my baptism is funny."
Yeah.
So, Dad was a very, very good man, but he wasn't. I don't know, maybe it's because of where we lived, but he was never demonstrative about the gospel. I knew he believed in Christ, that sort of thing, but he never talked about the organized church at all. Mom never talked about it except just telling us she was a member. It wasn't a convert. It was not something that was discussed at all in my family. Now my brother went to college and ended up joining the organized church, Ridge.
Oh, interesting.
He's a member of the reorganized church. Of course, that's changed now. But since it's whatever it is, I don't know how active he is. But yeah, he joined the organized church almost concurrent with my conversion to the Mormon church, but I don't know exactly the.
Oh, interesting.
But he did it in college. It's university. No, yeah. Colorado State University. That's where he joined the organized church. And I don't know how that happened. I've never asked him how he contacted him or what happened. But yeah, my parents were never very happy with me.
Did you have a sense already? Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
Did you have a sense already when you joined just how different your life was going to be because of it?
I knew because I was in the Army. I could not live it.
Was that the alarm?
I couldn't live it fully in the Army. You know what I mean? It was kind of missionary work, and we didn't have a congregation to speak of. We went when we could to Columbus to church, and we did that relatively often. But oftentimes as soldiers, you're either on duty or you're on maneuvers, and you're not there. So Bruce was probably a little more active than I was because I wasn't a member yet. But I don't think my testimony really solidified as much as it is now until I actually went to BYU.
Interesting.
Because there, your environment was total gospel.
Yeah.
And you took classes.
Yeah.
As part of your requirement. And it was a good time in my life.
Huh.
I love the school, and I love the professors, and I love everything except I think now back and looking at my retirement, I wish I'd done something other than teach.
Well, I'm excited to hear you talk about that period of your life next time as we look at BYU and meeting Grandma Cookie and everything like that.
Yeah.
I have one other question though, and then I want to have you tell us about these pictures.
Okay.
Just because I'd like to hear you explain it from your perspective. How do you feel like your life is different because of joining the church?
It's totally different. It's been totally a blessing. Had I not joined the church, I don't know what I would have done. I'd have still had the GI Bill, but if I didn't join the church, I wouldn't have gone to BYU. I don't know even where I'd have gone to school. So it just became my goal. Probably because of my membership and because of all my friends who were going there. And they became my culture, even before I got out of the Army, because we did so much work together. And those were good people. See, most of them were married couples. They got off their mission, got married, and then got drafted.
Oh, interesting.
You know, the Korean War came along,
Yeah.
and they got drafted. Yeah, they took married couples just right and left.
Wow.
So, but they'd always lived off the base, you know, as married couples.
Well, any other thoughts or any other memories that you have from your time in the Army? Whether it be your conversion part or just your military service?
My military service was good for me. I grew up a lot because of it. I was very, very discouraged when they wouldn't let me be a mechanic and made me a driver.
Mm-hmm.
That broke my heart because I had all these wonderful ideas and I loved working on the tanks and trucks and things. That really, really upset me. So that was kind of a downtime until I started realizing what a blessing it was after all.
Interesting.
Have time. Yeah, I read the New Testament. I read the Book of Mormon. You know, church news. You get awfully bored just sitting in a Jeep waiting.
I'll bet.
You didn't have anything else to do. It's good I didn't have an iPhone.
That's very true.
You know, very different. I'm very grateful that I got drafted. It changed my life dramatically. And I was able to go to BYU, meet my wife, get an education, you know, live the gospel.
Yeah. It's amazing for
me.
me.
It was very, very different. But each step was a new learning experience, you know, like going home teaching, you know, all of that. I can't put into words really the blessings that came because I joined the church. I know that I was able to get the perfect wife, live the gospel, raise good kids. They've all been married in the temple. I don't know what life would have been like had I not joined the church. I don't know. I look at my brothers and their lives. Rich is considering himself a really religious man, but his church has changed names and changed policies and beliefs so many times. Jerry and Shelley. Jerry's now active in local church in Dillon. And where is he now? Jerry? Can't think of where he lives. Oh, Rifle. He lives in Rifle, Colorado. And he is a member, joined a congregational church or something. I don't know what it is. Shelley never has. I think that's because of his wife, you know, how that happens. But Rich probably has been active in the organized church most of his life after he joined in school. But my other two brothers really haven't been active. I guess Jerry just got active now. But he's quite, you know, yeah. So, and I think that I'm glad I had the parents I had with the training I did have. But it wasn't complete in the gospel, but they were good people. My dad was especially a great man. I loved him dearly. He's just very moral, very, very moral person. Had strong feelings about right and wrong, and kind of helped me a lot, you know. Yeah, I have good memories of growing up in Dillon, but it was different. Very different than Denver.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. The only other thing, and I think we can cover that next time. I think I've covered everything that you had on. I didn't go to the backside, because we talked about conversion. Talked about Army experience. I think I covered everything that you had on the list. You gotta, next time you gotta do my wife.
I'm excited to talk to
Then
Grandma.
we hear the other side of the story.
Well, these are some pictures that we didn't get to ask you about last time that I want to ask you about this time.
Well, I'm too old I was too young to remember. I remember seeing the picture, but I don't remember much about it. I was probably
let's see, I'm going to be showing this to you and the camera at the same time. So some of these are of you and some of these are of others, and I'm just curious.
Okay.
Who, I think, is this one you?
Yeah.
And how old are you here?
Probably 5. I think. I don't know.
Oh, whoops. Too far. Excellent.
Same picture. I don't know if that's me or not. I have no idea.
It says 1934.
Well,
these are from
be me.
Grandma.
That must be me. Because my brother was brand new.
Later than that.
Yeah, so if that's 1934, I was born in 33.
So this would have been
right.
Denver, or?
Oh, that'd be somewhere in Denver. Yeah, I was born in Denver.
So could this be South Gaylord Street back here where these cars are?
I don't think so. Okay. That looks like a park.
Washington Park? Maybe?
Could be, but I don't know.
Okay.
Could be.
Interesting.
Okay, I gotta look at this carefully. I don't know this picture.
Let me see
Just
if it's
a minute.
got a title on it. Let me just check. It says Rich and Ronnie.
Okay.
So that must be you and your brother?
Yeah, it must be.
So is that Rich and that's you, or?
That's me on the motorcycle.
Okay.
I think that's Rich. Yeah, that's Rich.
And do you know who the older people are?
I do not know. It's an older couple. I don't even know where it was taken. Let me
Go ahead,
look at it carefully.
Go ahead.
It's not up in Dillon. It's in the foothills. No, I just don't know.
That's fine.
They may be. I wish I had a chance to. Okay, there's a. Okay, that's a haystack or clear back in the background, a little haystack. I don't know where that was taken. It's a farm, it's not ours. I don't know. And this must be just a scooter. It's not. I don't think that's a motor. Well, I'm sitting on it though. I don't know. Huh.
Interesting.
I do not know.
That's fine.
Oh, that's
totally
interesting.
fine.
Yeah,
That's
my
you.
That's my high
That's
school
your graduation. When
With
you
my
got the
curly hair.
Uh-huh. Your graduation picture, one of my favorites.
Yeah. Uh-huh. No, I don't know who that is. It's not me. I've got glasses on. I wore glasses, but I don't recognize that as me.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let me check. There was a label on it, I think. Oh no, there wasn't on this one. So you're not sure if it was you or not?
Probably was because I got glasses.
Okay.
Rich in that stage of life.
Didn't have glasses?
Didn't. I wore glasses.
Were you into cowboys?
Oh, I probably wasn't into it, but I really don't know. I'm sorry, I can't.
That's okay.
Now that's not us, I don't think.
No.
That might be. No, that's not. This might be. That might be Rich. It's too old. It's too far back to be Jerry or Shelley. It's got to be Rich, but that's not me. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't know who that is. That's not. That child is not. It's probably a cousin or something.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you.
Looks
about the same.
My mom wrote that. She was famous for writing on the picture, on the face of it.
That's funny instead of on the back.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah, that's probably me. Yeah.
Where is that? Would that be up in Dillon?
I can't tell from the tree.
Okay.
Can't tell from the tree. No, because not Dillon. See, when we moved to Dillon, I was probably in
I think you said
8th or 9th grade.
Okay. So like 12-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's younger by far.
Okay.
That's me.
Is that a lasso or a rope of some kind?
Yeah.
Can you tell?
Trying to be a cowboy. Yeah. Did you ever learn to twirl a rope and throw
I
it
never
on
did.
something?
I'm always amazed that people can do that.
Yeah.
Can you tell where you're at? If not, that's fine. But
Can't see the mountain behind it. It could be. It's up in the mountains, but I can't tell if it's a ranch in Dillon or not. I really. Okay. I think it is. I think this is the Outland Ranch. I remember this little mountain and those cliffs there. This would be Tenderfoot. Yeah, that's in Dillon, but I don't know if that's on our. See, when we moved up there, or when we went visiting, about this age, Dad hadn't built a house yet.
Oh,
If we could look the other way, if there's a barn, then I'd know it's our house.
Oh, interesting.
Because the barns were still there, but no house.
Do you recognize this vehicle?
No, not really. Can't see enough of it. It could have been our car. It was about that time period. Probably 19. Dad never had any cars. He bought used ones. So that could be in the 30s. That could be a 38, 39 car.
Gotcha.
I can't see enough of it.
Gotcha.
It's certainly.
Look at you smiling though.
Yeah. Okay, that's Rich and I.
That's you and Rich.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're about how old, do you know?
What would you guess? Probably 7, 8.
Okay. I was gonna say
I don't
5
think
or
that.
6.
I don't think it's that old. I think you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like your white suit. That is nice.
Yeah.
You were stylish.
I hate to have Mom.
There you are again.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not too happy, I guess. Okay, now this looks like Denver. Don't really recognize it too well. I'm not sure. That doesn't look like Rich. It doesn't look like me, and if it is, very, very young. I don't know.
But you said it looks like Denver?
Yeah, I think
Could that have been like the alleyway
I
behind
think
your
this,
house?
yeah, this could Mom's Beauty Shop. It could be that.
Okay.
But I don't see enough of it to tell. But this is a business.
Okay. And is that a sheet? Like that was laundry?
Quite sure. What's
kind.
hanging there? Boy, that's an interesting picture. I don't know.
I think there's a dog or something right here.
Yeah, there is.
I can't tell. But this is what Denver looked like when you lived there.
Well, that's about what the alleyway behind
The beauty shop.
the beauty shop and the businesses back there.
Uh-huh.
But this looks like the alley where the cars go down.
Okay.
I'm not sure this scene.
Okay. This one specifically, but that's the general look.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how I pictured it.
Okay, that's.
Is that you and Rich?
I think it is. I'm pretty sure
There's
it
no
is.
title on it, but
Yeah, I think it is.
there's a lot of pictures of you and Rich together.
Yeah.
Because you guys were so close in age.
Yeah. We're a year apart.
I think this is the last one. There you are again in that white suit.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think that was the last picture.
Boy,
that I
there's a
have
couple
from
of them I sure don't know.
childhood and adolescence there. Let's see. Yeah. I don't. Now there's a couple other things here that I'm not sure what they're from.
Okay.
Oh, whoops. That one
That's
you
my
showed
mom
me.
and
That's your
dad,
mom and
yeah,
dad. But it was. Oh, come on. This right here, it says Pikes Peak Races.
Okay, that's probably taken by my mom or dad. That's before I was born.
Okay.
I can tell by the vehicle, and it's a dirt road.
Okay.
Pikes Peak is a mountain south of Denver,
Okay.
and they had a famous road that cars used to race up all the time.
Okay.
Even when I was young, I remember it. They finally paved it.
So this road, you would go see this road.
I've
when
never
you were
been
young?
up that road, but I know where it is.
Okay.
I know all about Pikes Peak, but I've never been up it.
Okay.
It's about 40 miles south of Denver. That's another
Let's
of them.
see.
That's another of those same pictures.
These are other ones from later on. Okay, yeah, these are all later on in your graduation picture. Okay.
Yeah, that's Pikes Peak Race Course.
Excellent.
It was very, very, very famous for years because it really tested cars. A twisty, windy road. And the first car to get to the top.
Let me ask you about these ones real quick too. Some of these you told us about when we talked about your mom and dad. But this says Rich and Ronnie.
Yeah, and this is Eddie Lee Capps, my cousin.
Okay. So that's you in the middle,
Uh-huh.
and that's Ronnie.
I'm the tallest one, and Rich is on my left.
Uh-huh.
And I just said his name, I just forgot it.
Eddie Capps.
Eddie Capps.
There's those pictures
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Rich and Ronnie.
Yeah, Mom took care of that for us.
I like that you're wearing shorts and earmuffs.
That looks like snow on the ground.
Uh-huh. Now, is this a school uniform, or were you just dressed nice?
I'm not sure what that is. No, we didn't have ties in our school uniforms.
Okay.
And I don't think we wore shorts.
Okay.
I can't remember wearing shorts in school. There's the skiers.
Oh, so is this where you would ski up in Dillon?
Well, this must be Dillon, but no. See, I'm too young.
Yeah,
We
you're too
didn't
young
know
for
about the
Dillon,
ranch, so they just were up in the mountains somewhere. I'm not sure where.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That one you show me of your mom
Yeah.
and dad.
Now this is the same time period as that other one.
Is that you then?
I don't know. Can't see the face.
Looks like about the same outfit. Because that's you, right?
Yeah.
That's you and that's Rich?
Yeah.
Rich has his eyes closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same
That's
outfit, so that
probably
must
me.
be you.
But I can't see.
Sled, face down on the sled.
Oh yeah, sleds are. Now this is
This
way.
says you at 9 months.
Could be. I didn't know it.
Wow.
Huh.
That's what the
Yeah.
writing on it
What
says.
does this say?
This one says Ronald Roush, 1935.
Wow. See, 33. I was 3 years old.
Okay. There's you
Yeah.
skiing again in that same.
Same time.
So
Where
this
did
is
you
in the
get all
mountains
these?
somewhere around Denver. You said.
Yeah, I don't know where.
Okay.
I can't pick that. Now, what was that one they just passed? This one.
This one is a gravestone. Your
Oh, my parents.
your wife gave me these.
Okay.
So tell me about this. Where is this at? Your parents'
That's
gravestone.
in Dillon.
Oops.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
in
this is Red Peak and this is Buffalo Mountain.
Okay.
Our ranch was right down over here.
Over here?
Uh-huh.
Far away?
Down
or
in the
is
valley.
it fairly
Probably
close?
about a mile.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
This is the Dillon Cemetery. I think I've told you, but this cemetery had to be moved.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How come?
Well, they put a dam in and flooded the town of Dillon.
Oh, wow.
And so they had to move the cemetery. So they bought the land and moved the whole cemetery up here. But this, Mom and Dad were still alive. So this is,
okay.
they didn't have to be moved. But
Okay.
there's about 50, 60 graves in this cemetery
that
that were dug up and moved up here.
Wow, that's
The
amazing.
New Dillon Cemetery.
So you said there was a creek and a river that went by your ranch.
Yeah, but
Where
it's
would-
off the it's off the
It's
picture.
off the picture. Okay.
It's straight creek comes down here. Now, if you go down, do you see water down there anywhere?
I see something. I think
I think.
it
I'm
might
not
be
sure.
a road.
Well, anyway, the Blue River, this little hill,
Okay.
on the other side of it, down in the valley, is
Uh-huh.
the Blue River. It flows this direction down.
Okay.
And then Straight Creek comes in over here and flows into.
Okay.
It. So our ranch is, you can't really see the spot, but it's about a little bit off the picture down in the bottom of the valley.
Okay.
So it's about a mile and a half away from the
Wow.
cemetery.
That's
Yeah.
It looks like beautiful, beautiful
Oh, and that
country.
good country.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
It is. It's beautiful. Cold but beautiful. You'd never be any colder than you would up there in the
Wow.
wintertime.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions or anything, Carly? Well, thank you, Grandpa.
Oh, thank you.